how's it going? I know it's been a very long time since I have last recorded. I actually recorded over the weekend, but I didn't really finish recording, and that thing got deleted, and it was a whole ordeal. I saw Gemini Man, and I watched El Camino, a Breaking Bad movie. Both of them were quite enjoyable. Gemini Man, I had the luxury of seeing it in 3D with high frame rate at an AMC in downtown Chicago, which was an incredible experience because 3D with high frame rate is just amazing. The 3D glasses, they're hit or miss. I don't like wearing those glasses while I watch a movie. I like to have my vision unrestricted, but I gotta say, the 3D was really immersive in this movie. If you've seen any Ang Lee movie, I watched the 2003 The Hulk with Eric Bana a long time ago, so I don't remember it as well, but I love Life of Pi, and I've seen Life of Pi countless times. That's an amazing movie, and that's an amazing visual movie as well. Just a complete delight to look at, and it's a really damn good movie. I haven't seen Brokeback Mountain. I really want to see Brokeback Mountain because I love Heath Ledger and I love Jake Gyllenhaal. So I'll definitely get to that at some point. But overall, this movie, Gemini Man, is a mixed bag. If you read my Instagram review, I basically say the same thing. It's a mixed bag, and that's mainly because the action and all the action set pieces and everything like that are amazing. Just truly breathtaking, heart-pounding. My jaw was on the floor during all of the action sequences because they moved me, and they were so intense and just completely mesmerizing. Although some of the very close quarters hand-to-hand combat was a little jumbled and difficult to watch and also process because of the 60 frames per second. If you're not used to seeing 60 frames per second, I definitely wasn't, and I'm not. Most movies are 24 or 30 frames per second. And I think that's what we're all accustomed to when we think about how a movie is supposed to look. So it can be a little jarring, and it was a little jarring at the beginning, but I honestly quickly got used to it, and I didn't really notice it, except in some of the hand-to-hand combat scenes, because he keeps the camera really close, Ang Lee, and it's sometimes when it's going at 60 frames per second, everything's going really fast, and you don't know who's who and who's fighting who might be winning or anything like that until it cuts to a wider shot, which it kind of rarely does in some of those scenes. So it can make some of those hand-to-hand combat scenes kind of annoying, but those are kind of few and far between. Most of the movie for the action scenes are just insane gun-related violence, and there's a minigun, there's a lot of explosions, and all of those explosions are incredible. Although some of them definitely have fireworks and things in them, it definitely harkens back to Michael Bay in Transformers, where they would have explosions and then some fireworks come out of the explosions for some extra flair, which I didn't feel like the explosions needed. They looked explosive enough, and in terms of how they felt, this was in a Dolby Cinema theater, and if you know anything about Dolby Cinema, The sound system is off the walls. Quite literally, like, off the walls. It feels like a roller coaster. Every explosion you feel in your seats. Like, you feel a slight vibration with each explosion in your seats. And it's intense. And it keeps you on the edge of your seat. And it's amazing. But overall, the story is really what's lacking in this movie. It's your generic action movie type of plot. This guy is getting hunted, and the guy, if you've seen any of the trailers, who's hunting him is himself, but a younger clone of himself. So, honestly, the gimmick and the premise, it could be interesting, and we've seen a lot of interesting stories told with these same type of gimmicks, but sadly, Gemini Man is just not one of those interesting stories. Do I think it's worth your watch? Yes, because it's completely different than any other action movie that you've seen in terms of just the action filmmaking shown in the movie, because it's great. Like, the action's just awesome, and you should watch it for the action alone. The story is just meh, and you'll forget about the story, but this movie is an experience that I won't really forget, if that makes any sense. So yeah, Gemini Man, definitely check it out if you've been interested in seeing it. I don't know if you should rush out to see this in theaters. I do feel really bad for the studio because they spent about $140 million making this movie. Well, just production budget. God knows how much more they spent on. It's probably more than $140 million just to market it. So the fact that it only made $20 million-ish domestically is quite a shame. It definitely wasn't a really good return on their investment for the studio. Feels bad. But yeah, definitely go see it if you're interested in seeing it. But I don't know if you should go see it in theaters. If you do really want that experience, if you can find a Dolby Cinema, it doesn't necessarily have to be 3D. The high frame rate does help with the really intense action sequences. So if you want Dolby Cinema with 3D high frame rate, would be amazing. Would be probably the best experience you would have for this movie. Otherwise, it would probably be like an IMAX. I definitely saw that there was an IMAX availability, IMAX with laser, at the Navy Pier IMAX at Chicago. But I kind of realized that much later than we booked our tickets, so I don't think we could have made that change. Either way, Gemini Man, definitely worth a watch. Not necessarily in theaters unless you really want that premium action movie experience, then go for that. Don't go in expecting a story that's going to knock your socks off, because it's definitely not going to do that. But yeah, afterwards I'll be talking about El Camino, Breaking Bad movie. Great stuff. Really look forward to that. Okay, so this is where I start a new recording within the same recording. So if you're listening to this all the way through, if it sounds jarring, that's because I guess it would sound jarring, and I guess it maybe should sound jarring. Last time I recorded was about 8.5 hours ago, and I just got off work. Now I will talk about El Camino, a Breaking Bad movie. So, El Camino is, if you're unfamiliar with Breaking Bad, it is the car that I think belongs to Todd. Or maybe it's the car that Walter White gets in season 5. The one responsible for the ill-fated shootout that happens during the finale. Now, if you don't know my stance on Breaking Bad, I solemnly swear that it is my favorite TV show ever, and it's probably one of the most perfect TV shows ever. Now, I say that having not seen The Sopranos or The Wire, nor finished, like, all of Game of Thrones. Don't get me started on that. I got bored of it, and I guess I just don't like politics and fantasy. I do like Lord of the Rings, though. Lord of the Rings is my jam. Something about Game of Thrones, it was, like, too expansive for me. Breaking Bad is a little bit more self-contained. It mainly focuses on Walter, Jesse, and Saul, and certain side characters involving those two. Has very small scope compared to big shows like Sopranos, or actually I can't even say anything about Sopranos. I really haven't seen like one episode of it, so I can't really say much. But Breaking Bad, phenomenal show. Perfect ending, just really satisfying and bittersweet. Just how all good endings to a show should be. Alright? This show just checked all of those boxes. So, was I looking forward to this movie? I don't know. I don't think this movie is necessary, and even after having seen it, I really don't think it's necessary. Now, a lot of people will say, and a lot of people will be right when they say that movies, or any movie or show or anything, isn't necessary, and none of it's necessary. And I get that. All of them are made to make money, but I honestly feel like this was just supposed to be a love letter to the fans. If you haven't seen any of Breaking Bad, I mean, you can watch this movie and it'll be a decent movie to watch, but I really don't think you'll get much out of watching this movie. Like, Breaking Bad was great because of how you saw each and every character build and grow throughout the course of 5 seasons, specifically Jesse and Walt, your main two characters. But I don't know, this movie, it's all about Jesse and basically follows him right after the finale. And some of the characters come back, and since it's been like 6 years later, they definitely look older, and they don't use like The Irishman or MCU like CGI de-aging software or anything like that, or like Gemini Man, like I just talked about. I don't know why I referenced all of those before Gemini Man, but honestly, it's probably because Gemini Man's kind of forgettable, except for the action. So, it's a good movie. If you haven't seen Breaking Bad, don't waste your time. Watch literally anything else. Knock another thing that's on your watch list or whatever. Yeah, don't waste your time if you haven't seen Breaking Bad. If you haven't seen Breaking Bad, watch Breaking Bad before you watch this movie, because you won't understand. I mean, you'll understand what's going on, face value, but you won't understand the meaning behind a lot of it, and you won't understand like the gravity of a lot of these decisions and why a certain character is acting the way they are. A lot of things won't make sense, so it's just not going to be a valid investment of your time. Now, this movie is directed a lot like Breaking Bad is directed. If you are familiar with the POV shots and the directing style and camera work that Vince Gilligan likes to use with his show, it's very much like another Breaking Bad episode, you could say, but it's also like, you know, I just threw my phone away because it's raining like crazy here. It's raining like a summer monsoon kind of rain in like the middle of October. And this is like a great start to like any horror movie, any dark crime thriller. That's it's great weather for filming something like that outside right now. If you want to get a feel as to what I'm driving through at this moment. So yeah, Breaking Bad movie, unnecessary, but if you're a fan of Breaking Bad like I was, it was a nice thing to watch. I'm definitely glad I watched it. I don't think I'll be... I don't know. I would much rather just watch more episodes of Breaking Bad than watch this movie, really. All of it's good, and it's still a continuation of the story, so it's interesting to just find out what happened to Jesse after that. But I also like the not knowing of what happened to Jesse. I like for us as viewers to leave him alone, I guess philosophically, because he was kept in a cage, and he was, like, looked at, prodded, like, forced to do a bunch of things that were against his will. So I think it's nice that we don't get a clear idea as to what happened to Jesse, just that he escaped and he's free. So I liked that. But this movie, he's still free, but it just shows what happens in the next week or so after he gets free. And also a couple of flashbacks here and there, which is why I kind of felt like it was unnecessary, because the flashbacks didn't really add much of anything, in my opinion, and it kind of felt like they were just using it to make this movie 2 hours so that they could release it on Netflix. And that's a lot of the reason why I feel like it's unnecessary. Because if it was really something that needed to be seen, needed to be shown, something important like that, I get it. But this didn't really feel like that. This kind of just felt like, alright, this is what happened to Jesse after, and it's honestly very similar to Hanks. It's very similar to Walt's story, I guess, after season 4, or after the beginning of season 5, just him skipping town. It's the same kind of deal, he needs to escape. So that's that. Watch the movie if you've seen Breaking Bad, you're interested. Otherwise, don't worry about it, watch something else. But yeah, that's basically it. If you like these kinds of podcasts, keep subscribing, slide up on Instagram or Snapchat or, Facebook, Twitter, whatever, and just, give me your thoughts. Anything you'd like to see or hear, just let us know, and if you'd like to, tailor my output to the audience to better suit, what would you like to see, what kind of things, what would you like to hear, other things like that. But yeah, that's basically it. You guys have a good one, and I'm gonna go get myself dry because this rain just has soaked me from head to toe. But yeah, till next time, peace.